I want to welcome everyone to Brandeis Career Conversations, sponsored by the Hiatt Career Center. Our topic tonight is Careers in Media. I'm Meredith Apfelbaum, Hiatt's Assistant Director for Alumni Career Services, and it is my pleasure to welcome three amazingly talented alumni panelists to our program this evening. Before I introduce these three individuals, I would like to inform our audience about the format of tonight's program. I will be interviewing our alumni guests for the first half of our program, and then we will open up the floor to questions from our alumni student audience. To participate, simply type your questions in the questions text box located toward the bottom of your webinar control panel, which should be located at the upper right-hand side of your computer screen. Time allowing, we will address as many of your questions as possible. Also assisting me with the Q&A portion of our program tonight is Anthony Medeiros, one of our fantastic student peer Hiatt advisors. Thanks for your help tonight, Anthony. That said, let me now introduce tonight's panel. Tonight we have with us Jeremy Lechan from the class of 2003, currently serves as media relations for the Boston Red Sox and does basketball play-by-play broadcasting at the College of Holy Cross. Jeremy previously served as public relations consultant and instructor at Young Broadcasters of America and director of broadcasting at media relations for the Worcester Tornadoes. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, Meredith. I'm happy to be here.
And we also have with us tonight Kate Gardiner from the class of 2007. She's a media consultant and was the first social media manager for the PBS NewsHour. Kate recently started her own Lightbox Studio, her own company called Lightbox Studio, which develops and executes web innovation strategies for existing brands. She is also a freelance photographer and frequently speaks on both social media strategy and practical photojournalism for the web at conferences around the country. Welcome, Kate.
Thanks, Meredith.
And we also have Mollie Warshaw from the class of 2009, who is an account executive at Schwartz Communications and previously served as assistant account executive and intern at Schwartz and ad sales and distribution marketing intern for Lifetime Television. Mollie hopefully will be with us momentarily. We had a bit of a technical problem at the beginning of our webinar, so hopefully she'll be able to log on with us soon.
I'm actually here, Meredith. Thanks for having me.
Oh, great. Good. I just didn't see you on our panel. Thank goodness. Welcome, Mollie. So thank you to all three of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here with us tonight. My first question is for Jeremy. Jeremy, what did you major in at Brandeis, and how has that contributed, if at all, to your current positions doing media relations for the Red Sox and serving as the basketball play-by-play broadcaster at College of Holy Cross?
Sure. I was a history major at Brandeis. Professor Capel was my favorite professor. I took probably at least 6 or 7 of his classes. His specialty was medieval age, like old English and European history, so that was my favorite. But I think the bottom line is, being a history major, you have to be able to tell a good story. You have to be able to think of things linearly, if that is a word, and be able to relate them in a manner that makes sense. And when you're working in media, and I've kind of done both sides of media, I've worked mostly in broadcast media, but also now I'm doing media relations. I've done media relations in the past. You have to be able to process information and be able to put it right back out to your audience in a way that makes sense. And as a history major, that's pretty much what I did. All the papers I wrote, the classes that I took, it kind of made you think in a way where one thing leads to another, and that's really, really helped me, in my broadcasting, which is basically telling a story. As a play-by-play broadcaster, you're telling the story of the game as you see it, especially on the radio, which is all the professional work I've done has been on the radio, which is much more challenging than television, because obviously on the radio you have to describe every little detail because the audience has nothing to see. For TV, I've always been told that, they told us in school, that TV, when you're doing TV play-by-play, you're giving captions to pictures, versus radio play-by-play, you have to paint the picture yourself. So basically, yeah, as a history major, being able to tell a story and having practice in that has really helped me in both aspects of my professional career.
Fantastic. So it sounds like your Brandeis education has helped you directly in your career. We like to hear that.
Oh, yeah, there's no question about it.
Fantastic. Kate, you served as the first social media manager for the PBS NewsHour. How did you secure that position, and can you tell us what a typical day on the job was like for you?
Well, I went from Brandeis to a tiny Hawaiian newspaper for a year and a bit, and then I went to grad school. And after grad school, the only jobs I could get in media for my type of experience were social media. So I started working at WBEZ, Chicago Public Radio, and discovered that I was good at social media in a professional way. And so when the NewsHour's job came up, it's a brand that I've always known, trusted, and watched for the last 20 years or so. So I got lucky. And so now I have stepped away from the day-to-day, which is just posting to Facebook and Twitter, and I'm doing the engagement strategy, which is how to take one of the most valuable brands in media into the 21st century. And so that's mostly a lot more figuring out what partnerships work for us and building online engagement with our audience.
Right, and Mollie, you served as an intern both at Lifetime Television and at Schwartz Communications, your current employer. What types of skills and knowledge did you acquire at these internships, and how did that help you to get you where you are today in your career?
Sure. First, with my internship at Lifetime, I worked on a lot of different projects. So I think the biggest takeaway from that internship was learning how to manage up. I think that, making the transition from a classroom to a workplace is challenging in that your boss isn't a professor and hasn't really, laid out a syllabus and thought about your work in terms of every, detail that they want. And so learning sort of what your boss is looking for and what their boss requires of them in order to make their life easy. I think that that's a really big skill that I learned at Lifetime. And then at Schwartz, I'd say because I hadn't had any previous PR experience, I definitely was able to sort of what Jeremy was saying, learn how to tell a story, and even one step further than that, learn about journalists and reporters and what types of information they find valuable about any of the companies that I represent. So definitely two different skill sets, but the skill set I learned at Lifetime managing up is definitely something that's not only applicable to PR.
That is true. We do that in career counseling as well, Mollie. Jeremy, you received a master's in broadcast journalism from Syracuse University in 2004. Why did you decide to go back to graduate school, and can you tell us about your time there and how it helped you with your career?
Sure. I guess my path was different than I think a lot of other people, in that most people, you get the classroom experience, you're trained in how to do something, and then you go out and do it. Mm-hmm. For me, it was the opposite. I got my start at WBRS. I worked my way up through the sports department. I was the sports director my senior year. I broadcasted men's and women's basketball and some baseball games. So I kind of did the actual hands-on work first, and then I kind of realized that it probably would be a good idea to get some classroom training. I felt that, I felt I was a good broadcaster, but I wanted the classroom training, and also some more. I learned about a number of different techniques for working in media. I really didn't have much experience conducting interviews. I learned all about that. So the program at Syracuse at the Newhouse School of Public Communications was a terrific program. It's something I wanted to do. It's nationally renowned for broadcast journalism, so that went along with it for the allure for me. And it was a terrific experience. It was a one-year program, 1 calendar year, 2 6-week summer sessions, and the regular fall and spring. I learned a ton. Terrific professors, met great people, had a great time, and I learned a ton about the industry, about reporting, about anchoring. I did weather, I did sports, I did producing. So I learned about all aspects of broadcast journalism, and it really kind of helped refine the skills that I felt that I had naturally. So it was really good to have that training. and then I came out of there a lot more confident, a lot more knowledgeable about the industry as well. So I think it definitely helped me to do that. I think that you can be successful in the industry without going to graduate school, but for me, there's no question it was the right decision for me. And I think it is definitely, it put me out there into the market as a more polished professional, and I think that certainly has helped my career path.
Fantastic. Kate, you recently started your own company, Lightbox Studio, which develops and executes web innovation strategies for existing brands. What was the process you went through to start this company, and how are things going so far?
Well, we're very young. I've been doing consulting. When I was at NewsHour, the awesome part about NewsHour is that they are so old. The downside is that they can't pay enough really to feed you, especially when you're an experiment, and I was definitely an experiment. So I started consulting almost as soon as I got here to DC, and I just formalized the arrangement about 8 weeks ago and started taking clients. So we're really young. I'm about to hire my first employee. We'll see how all of that goes. But basically what happened was I kept getting people offering me money to do things that I already knew how to do, and I was just like, well, I'm not one to turn down money.
Not many people are, Kate.
Exactly, and so that's how we got started, and so far it's going really well. It's interesting because I'm still 24, and I had no intention of running a company quite yet. So we'll see how it goes in the longer term. But I think there's such a big opening for people who do what I do, which is take your brand and put it into the social media sphere and figuring out how to get new audience. That it'll be a longer term investment of my time and resources. But we'll see.
Great. Well, we're wishing you a lot of luck and keeping our fingers crossed for you. Are you able to tell us who one of your clients is?
Well, my major client is still NewsHour. I got so involved with them, but they wanted a consultancy, and the day-to-day stuff I don't have to do anymore, which is nice because I think my strength for them has been aggregating new audience. But I have also partnered recently with NRDC, the Natural Resources Defense Council, and a couple of other DC properties that we'll see. Those contracts aren't public yet, but
Great.
We'll see.
Great. Mollie, you currently serve as the account executive at Schwartz Communications. Can you tell us about a current project that you're working on over at Schwartz?
Sure. Right now, we're getting one of our clients ready for a pretty big industry conference. The client is GE Healthcare. We represent a lot of their medical devices. And so essentially when we help prepare clients for big conferences like this, we schedule all their media appointments and prepare them for speaking with reporters, and it's a pretty big undertaking. We have to put together what we call a briefing book, which essentially outlines all the appointments and prepares each of our BE executives for each and every one of those interviews. And last year, I think we had about 50 appointments, and we're trying to secure more than that. And it's harder because conferences are being less and less attended just with budgets down this year. But yeah, that's sort of that's a pretty big project that we're working on right now. And actually, one other project that we're working on is with another one of our clients. They're also medical device, working to promote awareness of prostate cancer and a specific device used for prostate cancer treatment. And so we're working in about 30 different markets across the country and working with patients who've had a really good experience with our clients' technology to secure stories in the major daily newspapers and as well as broadcast stories. So one sort of a project, and then the second one is more of an ongoing project that we're working on.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you. So I'm curious to hear from all three of you. We can start with Jeremy. What one piece of golden advice do you have for the students and fellow alums who are logged in tonight and potentially who may hear this during our archived program? What piece of advice do you have for those that are interested in pursuing a career in media?
Sure. Well, I think the number one most important thing is you have to be aggressive. You have to be aggressive. And that goes for any profession, but particularly in media. You have to be a good writer, you have to be comfortable with people, and you have to go out and get it. I mean, networking, I'm sure Meredith has taught everybody how important it is, but it really is. You never know who is going to be in a position to put in a good word for you, to hire you for your next position. So you need to really be comfortable talking to people, writing to people, keeping in touch with people. Anybody you meet along the way at any level, you never know when they're going to be in a position to help you get your next job. So it's just stay on top of things, stay organized, and be aggressive, because nothing is going to be given to you, especially in the current time that we're in now. So you really have to go and get it.
That's great advice, Jeremy, and I'm just going to take a moment now to piggyback on your wonderful advice and let the students and alums know who are in our audience that the Hiatt Career Center actually sponsors a fantastic group on LinkedIn that brings together alumni, students, and interested family members, parents, guardians, and other friends of the university. Brings all these people together so that they can offer advice and helpful information to one another across industries and different geographic locations. And we do offer coaching on networking. So do feel free to go to the Hiatt website and go to our left-hand toolbar, and if you're a student, click on student. If you're alumni, click on alumni, and you will see in our career toolbox we have a whole coaching section on networking, and you're also welcome to schedule an appointment to speak with any of our counselors about the process of networking. We're definitely happy to help you with that, because it really is key and should be a part of the job search process. So Kate, what's your one piece of golden advice that you have for students and alums?
I am, as we were just saying, I am the inverter networker. I am out at events 2 to 3 times a week at minimum. And that's how I get all of my jobs. That's how I've gotten all of my clients. It's how I got my first job. It's how I got through graduate school freelancing. It's how I got through everything. I am constantly out there advertising myself and becoming a personal brand. You know, if you want to work in media and you want to work as a writer or any sort of person like that, start pulling together your portfolio now and have somewhere to send people, or have them have some sort of take home to remember that you exist. You know, yeah, it was dorky to have your business card when you were 10. Now it's just a matter of course. I mean, self-promotion is key to securing business, and if you're a media professional, it's a key to doing work as a writer or a reporter. You have to know where people are in the subject area that you choose to cover.
That's great advice. I'm curious, Kate. So, in terms of your self-branding, how do you brand yourself?
I have my first website is, of course, my name. It's kategardiner.com, and I have been building that into a mixture of all 3 of the things that I do. I came up with a tagline, which is I think it's I write, I shoot, I tweet, and I constantly update that with industry information on the blog, the photos. Every time I publish those, I also clip the image where this photos appeared online. And I'm rigorous about maintaining every piece of information that's on the internet about me. If only because that way I definitely know what's out there, and I can, if there were to be a criticism of me, I would be able to immediately respond. And that's part of, you know, brand management and pretty much a big piece of what I do on a day-to-day basis for everybody else. So it would be a bad show if I were to not be maintaining myself as I would have.
That's great advice. And so, Molly, how about you? What's your one piece of golden advice for students and fellow alums who are interested in pursuing a career in media?
Well, speaking from, the PR perspective, I think that there's no reason for anyone who's applying to a job in PR right now not to be on Twitter and involved in social media. It's really interesting what's going on with social media and how and to see what the interplay between traditional and social media are. And a lot of the times when, interviewing candidates for, for entry-level positions, a lot of agencies I know really do like to see people who are really comfortable with social media. So that's a big thing in terms of PR. And also, it sounds really basic, but really knowing and feeling comfortable with the media in terms of reading a newspaper every day. It sounds so basic, but it's sometimes surprising to see people go into PR who aren't really current and up, on what's going on in the news and don't know who the beat reporters are for the industries that they cover. So at a minimum, if you're looking and are really interested in PR, it's definitely really important to be reading every day on top of the news and know who's covering the news that, you're hoping to represent.
Great. That is really great advice from all three of you. Thank you. So I'm noticing we do have a few questions from our student and alumni audience. Anthony, if you want to maybe start with the first question up there.
Sure. So our first question tonight is how much does working on student media publications, for example, at Brandeis, help you in your job today?
I don't know which one of you wants to take that question.
I can do it.
Katie, thanks.
Yeah. So I was on WBRS. I was on WHFH, which was my high school radio station, and then I was also a writer for the Hoot and for the Justice. And it was the thing that got me my first internship straight out of Brandeis, which is at Chi-Town Daily News in Chicago. And the clips that I got there led to me getting a job in Hawaii that mixed my radio skills. I worked for Hawaii Public Radio and for our local station, which was KMKK, both little tiny Hawaiian entities. But nevertheless, I had clips from it. And those clips helped me when I wanted to apply to graduate school because, at the time I was going into Medill, I already had 300 or so published pieces. And I could say, yeah, I definitely want to be a reporter. Yeah, this is the kind of journalism I want to do. This is the major I want, and I was going through the course guide plan during my Medill interviews, and it was like, I don't see a class in here that I don't want to take, and I think that was the beginning of what I hope will be a long career working with media brands and making it so that the internet era and journalism get together a little bit more closer.
Okay, thank you. Anthony, you want to ask this question here?
Sure. So our next question is, how did Brandeis prepare you for a career in media, and how necessary is a graduate degree past Brandeis if you're interested in media?
I can go. I can start, I guess.
Great, thanks.
Well, first of all, Brandeis education is an excellent education. I'm sure everyone has told the students that as they go through and in high school and they're looking at Brandeis, but it really does make a difference, especially in the Northeast. But Brandeis is really a nationally and internationally recognized university. People in high places know of Brandeis and know the academic reputation. So having a Brandeis education on your resume isn't going to do anything but help you. And as far as the graduate education goes, it really depends. I mean, I went to graduate school. Kate went to graduate school. I don't know if Mollie did, but it's not necessary. You'll be able to have success if you don't, but it pretty much goes along the same line where it certainly can't hurt you. The only thing it can do is help you, and it can give you specialized training in the industry that you're looking for. That as great of a school as Brandeis is, you get a liberal arts education, and having a specialized education really tailored to specifics of what you're looking to do is only going to help you in the long run, and another thing to put on your resume and gaining more experience, both in the classroom and outside the classroom through internships. So I would certainly recommend it. You can succeed if you don't do it, but it probably will help you and give you a leg up on other people who don't have that type of experience.
Just to sort of piggyback off of that, I think that Brandeis does a really good job of sort of turning out really good writers. I did a ton of writing at Brandeis, and I don't think that if I hadn't had that experience of having to turn around a lot of papers pretty quickly, that I would have been, as effective in my job on a day-to-day. And then to the grad school question, from a PR perspective, I know a lot of people who stay at an agency. It's been my sort of experience that a lot of people don't go back to grad school, but if you're interested in moving in-house to a larger, say you want to do PR for 4 or 5 years, and then you want to go work at a large company that specializes in an industry you have experience in, to be, a competitive candidate in a really, challenging job market, it will help you, like Jeremy and Kate said, to have that leg up.
Great. Thanks, guys. We have another question that came in.
Okay, so this is a question for all three of you. The question is, how do you deal with the attention span of the current market? To clarify, how do you compete with people having access to everything, so much to the point where they don't even know what to choose or never stay consistently with anything?
Huh. Interesting question. Who wants to take a stab at that?
Not sure I understand it.
All right, let's try it again. How do you deal with the attention span of the current market? So to clarify, how do you compete with people having access to everything, so much so to the point where they don't know what to choose or never stay consistently with anything? I think if I can clarify it, condense that, it sounds as if this person is asking, potentially, I guess, around social media, how do you potentially find the most successful channel to get to people? Like, is there a consistent channel that you might use to get the message out? It sounds like this person's concerned that there's just so much out there right now with Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and email. How do you lose, like, how the concern, I guess, is that maybe people get lost in all of that and maybe shut down. Like, how do you cut through that?
Right.
Go for it, Mollie, if you want to.
Well, I was just going to say, actually, I think that with social media, you can target your audience better than you could in the past. I mean, if you think about traditional advertising and, a television spot, it hits a lot of people, but you don't know if it's targeted. Whereas if you have, a Twitter handle, you know exactly who you're following and the types of things that are interesting to them. And the same goes, obviously with Facebook and Facebook fan pages, but there's also a lot more micro blogs that focus on very specific topics that you can target. That's sort of my take on it. I don't know if, Kate, you have another perspective with your experience.
We have a really hard time getting people to sit through to the end of our show. I mean, our show is 56 minutes long, and I say that obviously as a newsletter person. But when you have a 56-minute long thing, even when you cut it down into those 13-minute segments, we struggle to get audience, and that's part of what I do is trying to get this really in-depth analytical content out in front of people who actually will get all the way to the end. And the thing is, we're using social media to do that. It's a very, very diverse media ecosystem, as the questioner knows. And basically, you use those hyper niche audiences. You use, as Mollie was just saying, we go after, for example, we did a story about Parkinson's disease about 2 months ago, and it was a really good series. And so we used the Facebook and Twitter portfolios that belong to any and all Parkinson's disease foundations to really get the message to the people who were interested in it and who really wanted to know about the research study that we did cover. And the interesting thing about that was, the tweet that they found from the NewsHour actually led them to the video, and in the video they played live at some sort of fundraiser or summit in Colorado in front of like 300 or 400 people. And for us, I mean, that's a significant impact because it's definitely exposure to people who wouldn't otherwise have gone to our site or watched our video. And that's the sort of exposure social media has been able to get us. Instead of a press release going to a press release to a press release and then doing a one-off story, we're getting this sort of direct line into people who are passionately concerned with whatever the topic is.
Great, thank you. We have another question here.
Okay, so our next question is, would you say that internships are the best way to get a start in a career in media? If so, in your opinion, what's the best way to go about and obtain a media or journalism internship?
Well, internships are terrific because it gives you practical experience, and it allows you to be immersed in the field that you're interested in and see how other people go about their business. So it's both you're doing things and you're observing. So I think it's very important, and it's a terrific help to kind of get a feel for the industry. What was the second part of that question?
I think the second part of the question was, what is the best way to go about obtaining a media journalism internship? I certainly have something to say on that, but I'd be curious to hear how you all secured your internships while you are at Brandeis.
I actually did not have, well, actually I did have an internship at Brandeis. I interned at WEEI. It was the end of my time at Brandeis. I interned at WEEI in their street team. I didn't do anything all that important, but I was at the radio station. I was around, the people on the radio, and that was a good experience. And then I kind of got a feel for what it was like, even though my particular job was not very important. My more important internships were in grad school, where I interned for a local broadcasting company that covered some college sports, and I did some play-by-play for them. And then when I finished up with grad school, I got the Holy Cross job, and then I was hired by a baseball team in Norwich, AA affiliate of the Giants at the time. But yeah, I mean, internships are going to give you a leg up. They're going to put you in a situation where if you do a good job, you may get a job offer. I mean, so many people get their first jobs through internships. And if there isn't a full-time job available, if you do a good job, you're going to get good references. And it just goes along with the whole networking thing. The more people you know, and the more people who know you and are willing to say good things about you, the more likely that it's going to give you the leg up for a job down the road.
I would say, just to jump on that bandwagon, to me they've been essential. I mean, my first internship was in 2003 or 2004, and I worked in media relations at the Shed Aquarium while I was home with the summer. And that was really the beginning of the end. And I spiraled into, I did, I think, 4 for nonprofit media, which was really my passion, before I ended up at NewsHour. And they give you insight, and if you're at the right publication, they basically give you your head to go out and do the reporting or do the business strategy or do the whatever. Because most media brands are understaffed, and if you can take advantage of a small-town paper not having enough people to do what it really needs to do to make money or what have you, not only do you get the job offer, but you can say on your resume, I did this, I did this, I did this, and people really seem to respect that over time.
Yeah, and just to add to what was just said, I actually found my internship at Schwartz, my second semester senior year, so January of 2009 through, this is a nice little plug, Meredith.
Go for it, Mollie.
I think it is, and just applied sort of regularly, got an internship and was offered a job about 2 or 3 months after I graduated, almost a year and a half ago. So I think that, especially when, with the economy the way it is, I think being at a company and showing your stuff, companies, tends to be more likely to hire somebody who they've been working with and know that they've been, doing a good job, and versus somebody who just comes in for a half an hour to interview. I think that is really a leg up.
Thank you to all three of you for that, and I do want to add that certainly that is one of the functions of the Hiatt Career Center, is to help people to refine and perfect their cover letters and their resumes, which is usually what you need to apply for an internship. So I do want to encourage our students and our young alums who may be on the call. You are certainly welcome to take advantage of that service that we provide through our drop-ins or through making an appointment. You can also, to get started on searching for an internship, go to the Hiatt website, and you will see on our homepage we have a series of online workshops, one of which is how to find an internship, and that's just a really good starting point for you to learn about the process of looking for an internship, both those that exist and those that don't. And you'll learn more about that from reading the material on our website, but a lot of people find success creating internships for themselves with organizations, and that's something else we can assist you with in Hiatt in terms of how to write a letter that helps to get your foot in the door with an organization so you can introduce yourself and ultimately set up a meeting to speak with them about creating a possible opportunity for yourself. So I just wanted to put in a plug for our resources. It looks like we do have another question that just came in.
Okay, so our next listener would like to know what drew each of you to the media industry.
Good question.
That's a good question.
Would anyone like to start?
Why do you work in this field?
Well,
I jumped in because it was go for it.
No, go ahead.
Well, I jumped in because I wanted to wear jeans to work. Yeah. I really did, and I love having a flat management system. I love I work more in startup media companies too, so nonprofit startups, which is basically the poorest of the poor. But it's also the most creative space because you can do whatever you want and you impact people. And I think that media it's creative, which means that one of my actual jobs is to go to concerts and take pictures at rock shows, and I've learned how to make money off of doing that. And then another one of my jobs is to spend the whole day reading the newspaper and Twitter and Facebook, which honestly is what you'd be doing in any other job, judging by our web traffic. So it's the most fun you can have and still actually work, as near as I can tell.
Yeah, I would agree. It's just fun. I mean, all of my professional experience has been in the sports world, so as a sports fan, it's really cool. It's fun to be courtside, giving the play-by-play of a baseball game or a basketball game that's close and exciting to the finish. It's fun to work with journalists covering the games and the athletes playing in the games and the coaches, overseeing the games. It's just thrill. It's cool to be around that. It's really neat and interesting to kind of get the different perspectives from the different sides and use that to help you be a better journalist. So it's just fun. It's fun. It's cool. It's a neat experience, and I really enjoy it. I get a thrill out of it.
And I love reading the New York Times. All of my friends in college would always make fun of me because every Sunday I would buy an actual copy of the New York Times, and everybody would read it online. But I really enjoy just reading the news every day, and that's something I always really enjoyed at school. And so for me, it was just sort of a natural progression, I guess. It just seemed like it was something that would make sense, and you need to really know the news and the news media in order to do PR and know where to pitch your stories and how your clients fit in. So it seemed like a natural next step, I guess.
Great. Thank you, guys. And looks like we have a question specifically for Mollie.
Yep.
So this next question is how does your Brandeis major connect to your media career today? How does it help you?
Right. So I guess
I was
international. I'm just for the benefit of the audience again. It's international and global studies and business, right?
Yep. I was an IGS major, business minor. I think that having a well-rounded, I know it sounds very cliche, but learning about a lot of different topics and being able to quickly sort of understand them and then be able to write about them and turn that around very quick is really helpful. You sort of have to become a jack of all trades. You need to know, like I specialize in healthcare, for example, but I have 5 different clients in 5 different industries, and the fact that I took classes in all different subject areas, I think that was really helpful. But like I said earlier, it really comes down to writing. I write pitches like all day, basically, so being a quick, effective writer definitely was helpful. And also the business minor, I actually, if I were at Brandeis now, I'd probably want to be a business major. I think that some of the classes, and in particular, I forget the name of it, but Professor Zimmerman's class on marketing was really helpful in doing different case studies to learn about like launches of different products. It was a particularly effective class. So
that's great.
I hope that answers your question.
That's great, and it actually is a nice segue into the next question that we got from someone.
Yeah, so our next question is, once people have entered the media field, what are your top strategies for client promotion and advertisement?
I don't know, potentially Kate, that might be a good question for you.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I mean, what I do is I take stuff that's already good and I get it out to more people. We're experimenting with Facebook ads. We're experimenting with all sorts of online ad revenue streams. But frankly, we're funded by grants. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, we're funded by grants. And so anything that I do now is going to be effective about a year down the line after all of the grants go through. From where my fork, and I do specialize in nonprofits. So what I do is get your reaction now, and then down the line you cash in with new, like we just secured a National Science Foundation grant based on our summer coverage of the BP oil spill, and that's more what shapes and drives us. That said, we're trying to flip it so that we have more audience online than we do in print, or well, not in print, but on the broadcast, simply because it's no longer the time of appointment TV, and something that's branded a news hour is a little bit harder to sell than this was.
Well, great. I know that we have quite a few student athletes on the call tonight. So, Jeremy, I have to ask this one. What's the coolest event you've ever covered, and why?
Oh, wow. Oh, man.
A tough one, huh?
I've done a couple of NCAA tournament games for Holy Cross, which is a pretty cool experience.
Yeah.
Totally different than, I mean, Holy Cross is a fairly good program. It's Division I, but it's a mid-major. So that's been pretty neat. Those games are pretty neat. I've done some games against some big-time schools like UConn on the basketball side. From the media relations perspective, my experience with the Red Sox has been very, very cool. Part of my responsibilities requires that I'm in the press box for all home games. So I have the best view in the house. I'm sitting next to all the writers for the Globe and the Herald and all the websites and the other newspapers. So that's pretty neat. And in the clubhouse, talking to the players and the coaches and stuff, it's just a neat experience. It's definitely a different experience from the other side. But probably the biggest thrill that I've had in my work is is not a particular game, but just making the big call, nailing a big call, whether it's a walk-off home run or a game-winning shot. And I've had both of those in my career, several of them, and it's just such a rush of adrenaline and energy. It's just the greatest feeling in the world when it's an exciting play and you know you nailed the call. Even if it's not a particularly significant game, it's just a feeling that I can't even describe. It's just such a rush of adrenaline and emotion. It's just really, really neat.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank all of our panelists for being here with us tonight, since the three of you clearly lead very, very busy lives. Jeremy Lechan, Kate Gardiner, and Mollie Warshaw. Really, thank you so much for being so generous with your time and advice. And I want to thank my sidekick, Anthony, for also being here with us tonight. We're really, really grateful. And to our alumni and student audience, if you're interested in learning more about careers in media, do be sure to visit our Hiatt Career Center website for further resources. You're also welcome to schedule an appointment to meet with a Hiatt career counselor to discuss your own individual interests and to create a career action plan to help you get to the next step, whatever that next step might be. Perhaps it's securing an internship or potentially getting involved in our LinkedIn group, which, by the way, Jeremy, Kate, and Mollie are all in our Hiatt LinkedIn group. So if you think of any questions potentially after tonight's broadcast, you can reach out to them through our LinkedIn group. That's what it's there for, to do the informational interviewing. Also, you can schedule an appointment by calling our main Hiatt number at 781-736-3618. Again, that's 781-736-3618. Or if you're a student here on campus or you're an alum and you live close by, you can just stop by the front desk and schedule that appointment. Diane, our office manager, usually has chocolate at the front desk, so it's an added bonus. And I just want to thank all of you for joining Hiatt Career Center for this really enjoyable and instructive program, and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. Good night, everyone.